Hi guys, in this video, we will check out the best CPUs that you should buy in 2021. I listed them based on my research by checking quality, features, price, and reviews. If you like any CPU, you can buy right now by checking the links in the description. We have picked the 5 CPUs that will be best for you, so let's get started with the video. The 5th CPU in our list is the Intel Core i9-10900K. The Comet Lake flagship is still a powerful option. Intel's top Comet Lake gaming chip, the Core i9-10900K, lost a lot of what made it special with the release of Zen 3. When the 10900K was unveiled, it came with the reassurance that it was the world's fastest gaming processor, but that's not a claim it can really hold on to anymore, with plenty of games handing wins to AMD's Ryzen 5900X. It's still a cracking gaming chip, don't get us wrong, but it traded on being the very best, and once that went, it lost a lot of its shine. What hasn't overshadowed it is Intel's latest release. The Rocket Lake i9-11900K is almost as powerful overall, but it's more expensive and still misses out on the multi-threaded side. The 10900K is still overkill for the vast majority of cases, apart from possibly at the very, very high end, and for serious workloads, AMD chips make more sense, but there's still a bizarre charm to the CPU. You probably don't need it, but if you build a machine around it, you know it won't be this chip that's holding you back. The Core i9-10900K is the first time Intel has managed to squeeze 10 processing cores into its mainstream lineup, and given it's capable of hitting 5.3 GHz, it definitely represents an impressive outing for the 14nm technology Intel has been tied to for so long. Gaming still benefits from high clock speeds, and this still delivers, it just doesn't make a lot of sense given the competition. You'll need to invest in a Z490 motherboard to go along with this chip and some serious cooling. Don't be fooled by that reasonable 95W TDP, as it'll push way beyond that, especially if you're thinking of exploring its overclocking chops. Intel Core i9-10900K has some following specifications. It has 10 cores, 20 threads, 3.7 GHz base clock, 5.3 GHz turbo clock and 20 MB L3 cache. The good stuff about Intel Core i9 is that it has fastest gaming performance and overclocking potential. The only bad stuff is its older Comet Lake architecture. The 4th CPU in our list is the AMD Ryzen 7 5800X. A great mid-range chip for serious work and gaming. In a world where the Intel Core i7 doesn't exist, this would be an incredible chip and would have made it into our top 3 recommendations, no sweat. It's great for gaming, producing the same figures that can be seen for the 5900X and 5600X. Still, it also appears to hit the sweet spot in configuration terms, with its 8 cores and 16 threads surely seeing it right for the future, seeing as that is what the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are rocking. Unfortunately for AMD, Intel does exist, and the Blue Company's Core i7-10700K matches this in plenty of the more important metrics but has this chip beat in one major way: value for money. This is faster in serious tasks, and if that's what you've got an eye on, then buy this and don't give it a second thought. But if you're mainly looking at gaming, Intel does pretty much the same but costs less. And that's hard for AMD to get away from. Competition aside, this is still Zen 3 strutting its stuff, and it does that impressively well. Throw in the support for PCIe 4.0 as well, and this is a forward-looking chip that will last you for years. AMD Ryzen 7 5800X has some following specifications. It has 8 cores, 16 threads, 3.8 GHz base clock, 4.7 GHz boost clock, 32 MB L3 cache, and it also has overclocking feature. The good stuff about AMD Ryzen 7 is that it has the same great Zen 3 architecture, awesome gaming performance and PCIe 4.0 support. The only bad stuff is that it can fall behind Intel in gaming at this place. The 3rd CPU in our list is the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. AMD's top affordable. When it comes to gaming, everything that's great about the 5900X rings true for this more affordable Zen 3 chip as well. There's nothing between any of the Ryzen 5000 chips in games, which means you'll hit the same frame rates with this chip as you will our number 1 pick. Which is incredible when you think about it: top tier performance from the most affordable Zen 3 CPU. We'll say yes to that every single day. This does have half the core count of that top chip, rolling in as it does with 6 cores and 12 threads. This is really only an issue with those more serious workloads, though, and for more reasonable stuff, this is more than sufficient. You could argue that gaming could go beyond the 12 threads we have here, but there's no evidence that is the case so far, and that's even though the next-gen consoles are rocking 8 cores and 16 threads. The Ryzen 5 5600X also bucks the Ryzen 5000 family's trend by shipping with a Wraith Stealth cooler, so you don't have to drop extra money on a third-party chiller. You don't need to, but if you do, you'll hit higher clocks for longer and also open up the wonderful world of overclocking, which could make it worthwhile. This is a decent little overclocker, and while it won't affect gaming much, it'll help in other areas nicely. AMD Ryzen 5 5600X has some following specifications. It has 6 cores, 12 threads, 3.7 GHz base clock, 4.6 GHz boost clock, 32 MB L3 cache, and it has overclocking feature. The good stuff of AMD Ryzen 5 is that it has awesome gaming performance, great value for money, and decent overclocking potential. The bad stuff is that it is $50 more than 3600X, and your information 3600X came with a better cooler. The second CPU in our list is the Intel Core i5-11600K. Intel's best gaming CPU is a great value proposition. The Core i5-11600K is my favorite chip of the new Rocket Lake generation, which marks a nostalgic return to the old days of Intel CPU launches. The top processor was always a decent Halo product, but the i5 was where the price/performance metrics really sold a new generation. Okay, with the 11900K being a frustrating chip, maybe it's not a total return to the old days, but the 11600K is still an outstanding 6-core, 12-thread gaming processor. It's also incredibly affordable too, with a price tag well underneath the Ryzen 5 5600X, and performance figures that have it trading blows with AMD's otherwise excellent Zen 3 chip. The Cypress Cove 14nm backboard may have made it rather power hungry, but that doesn't stop it from being a great gaming CPU, and one that delivers a lot of processor silicon for not a lot of cash. And PCIe 4.0 support on Intel 500 series motherboards. Though that is of dubious benefit at the moment, as our testing has not so far gone well with supported PCIe 4.0 SSDs. That will hopefully change, but even so, this is still one of the best cheap gaming CPUs around. Intel Core i5-11600K has some following specifications. It has 6 cores, 12 threads, 3.9 GHz base clock, 4.9 GHz turbo clock, 12 MB L3 cache, and it has overclocking feature. The good stuff about Intel Core i5 is it has high-end gaming performance, undercuts 5600X on price, and it has solid multi-threading chops. The only bad stuff is that its iGPU is still quite weak. The first CPU in our list is the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X. The best CPU for gaming right now. AMD's Zen architecture has improved with each generation, but the fact that AMD managed to knock out a 19% IPC improvement with Zen 3 is nothing short of staggering. The key takeaway for us as gamers is that this improvement means that AMD can now stand toe-to-toe with Intel when it comes to gaming. Honestly, there's so little between these two now that anyone claiming otherwise is delusional. Whatever resolution you're gaming at, this processor can handle it and keep your graphics card of choice fed with lots of juicy frames. The fact that this is a 12-core, 24-thread monster means that it can cope with anything else you throw at it as well. So if you have dreams of 3D rendering, video editing, or any other serious tasks, you'll know that you have the raw grunt to handle it. The fact that it won't hold you back when gaming makes it even sweeter. The only real downside is the pricing and the dropping of the Wraith cooler. Don't forget to factor in when you buy. You do get what you pay for, though, and this is a phenomenal chip for gaming and anything else you might want to do. If you're in the market for real power, you could step up to the Ryzen 9 5950X, which gives you 16 cores and 32 threads. However, it costs $250 more, and for gaming purposes and even most content creation chores, the 5900X is more than sufficient. AMD Ryzen 9 5900X has some following specifications. It has 12 cores, 24 threads, 3.7 GHz base clock, 4.8 GHz boost clock, 64 MB L3 cache, and it has overclocking feature. The good stuff of AMD Ryzen 9 is that it is the best CPU for gaming, awesome performance throughout, fast and efficient architecture. The only bad stuff is that it is often out of stock. For more details and the latest price of the CPUs, check the links provided in the description. That's all. I hope that this video will help you to make a better decision about choosing the CPUs. If this video has helped you, then please like this video and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.